Hello, everyone. Still here. Hair is a little bit longer, but other than that, not doing too bad, all things considered. Um, I have another installment for you from this book, Blending Genre Altering Style by Dr. Tom Romano. This one is called Finding Strength in Our Differences, Encouraging Multiculturalism in Writing. Excuse me. And it was written by a student who was finishing up her student teaching at the time, and she was in a school in a district that was more diverse, and they were trying to encourage more multiculturalism in the curriculum. So unfortunately, it didn't really go so well for her in her experience because of combination of small-mindedness, prejudice between students, teachers, administration. But this is kind of like an eye-opening experience for the student/student teacher. So let me read through some of these, some more genres here. I'm not going to read through all of them, but enough to kind of give you an idea of what this was like for her. So the first one is it's called A Dilemma, and it's kind of a short scene slash dialogue here. So again, it's called A Dilemma. She says, "I pass by Sarah's desk. Help me write this," Sarah says. I kneel down to desk level and peruse her paper. "Okay, Sarah, where do you need help?" Sarah begins to break it down. "Does this make sense?" she asks. And then the writing here. Change of heart. I'm trying to describe the black protest. I used to be one of the most non-prejudiced people. I've totally changed. The black students. My boyfriend went to get his gun. They're so obnoxious. Black, black, black. My head swells. Focus. Okay, how do I deal? Try to concentrate on the paper itself. But what about its content? I can't ignore it and just look for missing commas. Why, Sarah? Don't start this kind of thinking now, Sarah. Keep writing, Sarah. God, you're too young for this. Keep writing, Sarah. So that's kind of like a little bit of internal monologue and a little bit of dialogue between what was actually said and what she was thinking. Now, this next one is called, it was an assignment that she gave, and then it's a poem. So I'll read through the poem here, written by one of the student teacher's students. It's called Sense. Open your eyes. Look at me. No, don't just see me, fool. Look at me. Look at my skin. Yeah, it's much darker than yours. It's not a nice honey brown. Mine's thick chocolate, honey. Open your ears. Listen to me. No, don't just hear me. Listen to me. My voice is sometimes loud and obnoxious. I know that. My words are round and unsharpened. We only understand ourselves, you say. Feel my hair. Fool, don't touch it. Feel my hair. Coarse, curly, greasy, you say. Greasy from relaxer. My hair grows as I did. Harsh, unruly, but thick and full. Come closer. There's more. Touch me. Listen to me. See me. Then, po fool, you'll know me. And then again, this is written by someone named Tanisha in the 11th grade. Now, again, I'm not entirely sure if these were all like word for word verbatim, some of these assignments, or this was kind of the author of this project's interpretation or paraphrasing, but it still gives you a very good look into this. Okay, so now the next one is from her teaching journal, and it's a response to that, excuse me, a response to that poem that I just read. She says, I had no idea Tanisha would write something like this. I mean, what teacher would expect it when she assigns a simple poem about yourself? I expected the usual. I'm tall, I'm athletic, I love my cat, I'm going to be rich and famous. I know I said anything goes, but this is real. It's rough. Bravo, Tanisha. Risk-taking at its finest. I'm mildly impressed with the poem itself. Rather simple, free verse form, almost sing-songy. I like its off-rhythm. There's something deeper, though. And I'm afraid to feel it, as Tanisha says. I am so happy she wrote about her, quote, blackness. That took guts. But how do I handle it? Identifying herself with her race is strong and in your face, but is it too in your face? I mean, with the new trend, a unified classroom, we're different but the same, multiculturalism, melting pot, how do I handle this outright declaration of Tanisha's black pride, her black identity? This assignment asked for it, and I wasn't ready to handle this whole greater issue. Race and writing. Should it or can it work? Simple. A poem about you. Anything goes. Are my students trying to tell me something? So this next one is called Barb's Dirty Ashtray. And this is like sitting in the teacher's lounge with the student teacher talking with like an older, more, I guess, grizzled teacher, you could say. And I'm not going to try to do the voice. I always imagine it sounds like gruff and like a smoker's voice here, but I'm not going to do that. So anyway, here we go. So, Janice, what's on your mind, sweetie? Barb crushed out the stub of her cigarette. Don't think I'm prying, but after 20-some years, I know a frustrated teacher when I see one. She grabbed another Marlboro Light from the pack lying next to Janice's sprawled papers. So again, obviously this was a while ago when they still would smoke in school. Oh, really, it's nothing, Janice replied, peering above her glasses, meeting Barb's glance across the table. Well, maybe it is. Okay, tell me what you think. Shoot, honey. I've been doing some thinking about the writing done in my class. I mean, I've been happy for the past 3 years with the same kinds of topics and assignments, but I feel my kids need something they can sink their teeth into. More than just describe your room. Who's the hero in your family? I see a greater need, especially with the diversity in our student population. Our school is getting to be a real melting pot, and I want my students' writing to reflect that. Any suggestions? Barb took a long draw and blew a line of smoke as she looked up into the ceiling at an invisible answer. After a long pause, she said, Honestly, honey, after all this time in this profession, I haven't had the energy or the time to even worry about this multicultural melting pot stuff. I just don't see the need for us to change the way we teach just because our school is going down the tubes. Barb began coughing and practically hacked up a lung. She recovered and continued. I applaud your efforts, but when you get to be my age and reality hits you in the face a couple of times, you'll understand that no matter what you do, those colored and Hispanics and other immigrants just don't write and learn well. They're always remedial. That excludes Orientals, of course. They know everything. But breaking your back to come up with diverse writing assignments will only go so far. Those colored kids will still speak their mumbo-jumbo lingo in class and in the halls, can't understand a word. So I take it you have no suggestions to offer. Thanks anyway. Janice adjusted her glasses and went back to reading her papers. Barb blew out another cloud while she crushed another cigarette. So obviously you can kind of see some of the struggles of the younger teachers here, trying to be more diverse and trying to encourage and foster that. Excuse me. Well, at the same time, there's some resistance from other teachers, and as you'll see here shortly, even some of the students, and it gets very interesting. Then she has like some more mental notes, some more like of her what do you call that? Like her teacher's diary or journal. There's some more dialogue. What else do we have here? Okay, here's one that's really powerful. Again, I'm not sure if this is word for word actually what was written or if she's kind of paraphrasing it. They use a full name here, but I think they probably changed the student's name. But this is it really catches your attention, and it probably makes you uncomfortable a little bit. So the assignment was they had to write a letter to the president. So it says, Dear Mr. President, I have a few things to say about the issue of racial intolerance. I'm sure this is a topic you hear a lot about, so you're probably sick of it. Don't worry, I know you have a lot to do, so I'll make this short. I am an 11th grader and almost ready to go out into the real world, whatever that is. I'm fearing this, not because of my youth and inexperience, but because of the people of this country and this world that are making this a horrible place to live. I'm sure you have a similar fear, Mr. President. I realize this country is supposed to be the melting pot, but I'd rather not be melted with queers, colored people, and illegal aliens. I feel that I'm happy with the way I am. Why would I want anything to do with them? Let's face it, blacks are dumber than whites. It's been proven with IQ tests. And that's why they stay poor and turn to crime and have tons of babies that we end up paying for. Hispanics are just trying to sponge off the hard workers like my dad, and everyone crossing the border illegally should be shot or sent back. And queers should all be shot. They don't fit in our society. My views reflect a lot of thought on my part. It'd be nice to make everyone get along, but some people just don't belong in this country. They just make it worse. That's why I don't believe racial intolerance is bad. It's necessary for our country to survive. Whites, who are straight, need to keep the power in this country, like Congress and the Supreme Court. As long as that power still exists, we won't have problems with racial intolerance. Sincerely, Jeremy H. Gallagher. And this was written about 20-some years ago, and unfortunately it sounds all too similar to maybe a lot of what we're hearing and reading today. So it goes to show you that even throughout generations and time, as much as things change, a lot of it does stay the same, unfortunately. But this was a good example coming off the one about Barb, talking about not wanting to be multicultural, melting pot, and to see that there are a lot of students that feel that way too, or at least think they feel that way because they've heard from their parents. Let's see. It's kind of wrapping it up here. Here's another conversation that she had with Barb. It's in response to that letter. So, Janice, honey, what's up with this controversial letter Jeremy Gallagher wrote for your class? That kid's a weird one anyhow. Too quiet, I always said. Dish the dirt, sweetie. Barb blew a line of smoke in Janice's direction. Don't worry, Barb. I'm handling it fine on my own. Really. I just need to work on what I'm writing here, if you don't mind. Janice fanned the air in front of her and started writing again. Janice, hun, you know when I told you when I first wanted to start with this multicultural stuff? When you wanted to start with the multicultural stuff, word spreads quick around here. I heard you haven't even dealt with him yet. If you want my advice, I'll tell you, just dismiss the letter. Tell Jeremy you can't deal with that kind of writing, give him a C and brush it off. Don't worry, honey. This is what happens when you dive into the sticky stuff like race and culture. Go back to your safe topics. I tell you, Barb, thanks for your advice, but I don't need it. I really need to get back to my writing now. And again, this kind of shows you that even though, as much as this young teacher is trying, she's not getting a lot of support from those around her. And that's all that I'm going to share from this one. And there's a little bit of there's some end notes and some stuff that I'm not going to make you do in yours. But I think this is a good example. As uncomfortable as it is, it really it shows and reflects an interesting topic, and it does a good job of like incorporating a letter, dialogue, poetry. Some internal monologue as well. And just like with the other one we read, the cosmetic clips, this isn't necessarily a persuasive piece. It's not trying to persuade the reader of anything, other than maybe we need to think and be more accepting of people. Excuse me. But even though it doesn't have an element of persuasion as much as yours will, it's a good example and a good balance, I think, of different genres connected to the same topic and connected to each other as well. Because a lot of those, here's the assignment and then here's the response to that assignment. And I'm not saying all of yours have to be connected like one right after another, but they should all be on the same topic. So take a few minutes. I'm going to open up the discussion board, and I want you just to share your thoughts on this, what you thought, and then respond to what somebody else said as well. Obviously, I'll extend this a little bit, so just put it up before the weekend, before midnight on Friday night. Make sure you put your comments up there. Thank you. If you have any questions, as usual, I'm always checking my email, so please check with me. Hope you're doing well, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.